Hello dear students, this is Vishal sir from Ikra High School. Today we are going to study chapter 9 Heredity and Evolution from Standard 10th NCERT syllabus. Let's first read the lesson. We have seen that reproductive process give rise to new individuals that are similar but stubbornly different. We have discussed how some amount of variation is produced even during asexual reproduction and number of successful variations are maximized by the process of sexual reproduction. If we observe a field of sugarcane, we find very little variation among the individual plants. But in a number of animals, including human beings, which reproduce sexually, quite distinct variations are visible among different individuals. In this chapter, we shall be studying the mechanism by which variations are created and inherited. The long-term consequences of the accumulation of variation are also an interesting point to be considered. We shall be studying this under evolution. So dear students, in this chapter we are going to study about the variations found in living organism. We will observe the frequency of variation in sexual reproduction as well as asexual reproduction. We are also going to understand about the difference between variation and evolution. Accumulation of variation during reproduction. Inheritance from the previous generation provide both a common basic body design and stable change in it for the next generation. Now think about what would happen when this new generation in its turn reproduce. The second generation will have differences that they inherit from the first generation as well as newly created differences. Figure 9.1 would represent a situation if a single individual reproduce as happens in asexual reproduction. If one bacterium divides and then the resultant two bacteria divide again, the four individual bacteria generated would be similar. There would be only very minor difference between them generated due to small inaccuracies in DNA copying. However, if sexual reproduction is involved, even greater diversity will be generated, as we see when we discuss the rules of inheritance. So, in this first paragraph, we come to know about the variation that occurs in the first generation of the offsprings during asexual reproduction. We also find the variation in the second generation when the first generation reproduces. Here, in the diagram, you can see that when an organism reproduces through asexual reproduction, the first generation are born with slight variation but with the same body design like its parent. This example is given about a bacteria, a single cell organism that reproduces asexually. The variation that you find in the new offspring is a red color over here and a green color in this. Now what happens when this red colored bacteria reproduces? It shows another variation, a white arm like this and a pink arm like this. But all of them have the same body design just like their parents. In the green one also, you can find a blue circle over here and no variation in this. It remains just like its parents. So this shows that there is a slight change when asexual reproduction is conducted, but definitely the change occurs. The body design remains as it is. Do all this variation in a species have equal chance of surviving in the environment in which they find themselves? Obviously not. Depending on the nature of variation, different individual would have different kind of advantages. Bacteria that can withstand heat will survive better in heat wave as we have discussed earlier. Selection of variants by environmental factor forms the basis of evolutionary process as we will discuss in later sections. So dear students, this proves that during asexual reproduction there is very slight variation observed in the DNA copying which involves very minor inaccuracies. But during sexual reproduction, the variation would be at greater level compared to asexual reproduction. Also, factors like environment play a key role in maintaining the variation found in individuals. Some individual may have a slightly better advantage than its predecessor. Now let's talk about heredity. The most obvious outcome of the reproductive process still remains the generation of individual of similar design. The rules of heredity determine the process by which trait and characteristics are reliably inherited. Let us take a closer look at these rules. Inherited traits. What exactly do we mean by similarities and differences? We know that a child wears all the basic features of a human being. However, it does not look exactly like its parent. The human population shows a great deal of variation. So, dear students, before studying heredity, we should always keep in mind that any type of reproduction shows variation but maintains similar body design. Thus, heredity is a process which involves two main aspects of variation: traits and characteristics of the new individual. Inherited traits means the variation found in the new individual with all the basic similarity of its parents. Now, for that, let's understand an experiment conducted by Mendel. Rules of the inheritance of traits. Mendel's contribution. The rules for inheritance of such trait in human beings are related to the fact that both the father and mother contribute practically equal amount of genetic material to the child. This means that each trait can be influenced by both parental and maternal DNA. Thus, for each trait, there will be two versions in each child. What will then the trait seen in the child be? Mendel worked out the main rules of such inheritance, and it is interesting to look at some of the experiments from more than a century ago. Mendel used a number of contrasting visible characters of garden pea, round or wrinkled, tall or short plant, white or violet flowers, and so on. He took pea plants with different characteristics, a tall plant and a short plant, produced progeny by crossing them. Here crossing means sexual reproduction, and calculated the percentage of tall or short progeny. In the first place, there were no halfway characteristic in this first generation or F1 progeny. No medium height plants. All plants were tall. This means that only one of the parental trait was seen, not some mixture of the two. So, the next question was, were the tall plant in the F1 generation exactly as same as the tall plant of the parent generation? Mendelian experiment tests this by getting both the parental plant and these F1 tall plant to reproduce by self-pollination. The progeny of the parental plants are of course all tall. However, the second generation or F2 progeny of the F1 tall plant not all tall. Instead, 1/4 of them are short. This indicates that both the tallness and the shortness traits are inherited in the F1 plant, but only the tallness trait was expressed. This led Mendel to propose that two copies of the factors, now called genes, controlling trait are present in sexually reproducing organism. These two may be identical or may be different depending on the parentage. A pattern of inheritance can be worked out with this assumption as shown in figure 9.3. Activity 9.2, in this explanation, both TT and T small t are tall plants while only TT is a short plant. In other words, a single copy of tall plant is enough to make the plant tall while both copies of to be small t of the plant to be short. The trait like capital T are called dominant traits while those that behave like small t are recessive traits. Work out which trait would consider dominant, which one recessive in the given diagram. So dear students, in Mendel's experiment, it proves us that when an individual is born with a trait from both mother and father, its identity will involve the influence of both the parents, but some of the trait would dominate the other trait. In the experiment, Mendel proved that in the first progeny, the dominant traits were of the tall plant. All plant of the first progeny were tall, as the traits of the short plant remained subservient. While in the second progeny, that is F2, 25% were short plant while 75% showed all traits. This proved that during sexual production, any one trait may be of father or mother may become dominant while the other may remain recessive. How do this trait get expressed? How does the mechanism of heredity work? Cellular DNA is the information source for making protein in the cell. A section of DNA that provide information for one protein is called the gene for that protein. How do protein control the characteristic that we are discussing here? Let us take the example of tallness as a characteristic. We know that plants have a hormone that can trigger growth. Plant height can thus depend on the amount of particular plant hormone. The amount of the plant hormone made will depend on the efficiency of the process for making it. Consider now an enzyme that is important for this process. If this enzyme works efficiently, a lot of hormone will be made and the plant will be tall. If the gene for that enzyme has an alteration that makes the enzyme less efficient, the amount of hormone will be less and the plant will be short. Thus, genes control characteristics or traits. If the interpretations of Mendelian experiment we have been discussing are correct, then both parents must be contributing equally to the DNA of the progeny during sexual reproduction. We have discussed this issue in the previous chapter. If both parents can help determine the trait in the progeny, both parents must be contributing a copy of the same gene. This means that each pea plant must have two sets of all genes, one inherited from each parent. For this mechanism to work, each germ cell must have only one gene set. How do germ cell make a single set of gene from the normal two copies that all the cell from the body have? If the progeny plant inherited single whole gene set from each parent, then the experiment explained in figure cannot work. This is because two characteristics R and Y would be linked to each other and cannot be independently inherited. This is explained by the fact that each gene set is present not as a single long thread of DNA but as a separate independent piece, and each is called a chromosome. Thus, each cell will have two copies of each chromosome, one each from male and female parent. Every germ cell will take one chromosome from each pair, and this may be of either maternal or paternal origin. When two germ cells combine, they will restore the normal number of chromosomes in the progeny, ensuring the stability of DNA of the species. Such a mechanism of inheritance explains the result of the Mendel experiment that is used by all sexually reproducing organisms. But asexually reproducing organisms also follow similar rules of inheritance. So, dear students, traits are carried to the new individual DNA through genes. But the genes are completed by the received chromosome by both the parents. Both the parents contribute equally to the progeny. The mechanism of the contribution of the gene from both the parent is of contributing only one set of gene to the progeny. So, a gene is completed by the number of chromosomes obtained by the parents. Parents contribute half the number of chromosomes so as the cell gets completed by taking any one chromosome as obtained from both the parents, restoring the normal number of chromosomes for the progeny. This chromosome is the dominant trait which the new offspring will become.